Hey everybody, another NFL in London podcast. Wade and Ryan here. Didn't do a review show. Ryan is was feeling ill, but
Little
now we got
down,
you back.
little
You're on
down.
the mend.
I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm back. Off
it's
IR.
fine.
I'm off IR
Just
for at least 1
just
week.
like the season. Yeah, there you go. Obviously, I thought it was maybe the Bills' loss last week to the Dolphins that might have made you ill. We'll talk about some of the games.
Be curious to see when my throat infection started. It probably did start at me just disgustingly spitting at my TV during that. That's probably
Yeah.
when it kicked in. I wouldn't be surprised if that was when it started.
Obviously, yeah, we'll get into some of the games, some surprise games. But how about we'll talk about the Patriots, because we'll talk about the TNF game as the Patriots. Look, these guys are literally legitimate. And I think when you see them 2 games in a row beating the Bucks last week, and then of course the demolition game against the Jets this week. I mean, the Jets had also won last week. Drake May looking great. The defense, offense, everything is firing on this team. Legitimate contenders in the AFC.
For sure. And it just shows like a team like Buffalo who just kind of sat on their just kind of assumed like for years like the division will always be ours, and now they're looking up, and it's pretty hopeless. Like the Patriots had the easiest schedule in the first half of the season and the easiest schedule in the second half of the season. Like they're literally there's no real games they can drop. They have to play Baltimore and Buffalo, but the way Buffalo's season looks too, like they're gonna have to play Cincinnati with Joe Burrow coming back. They got Tampa Bay, who just lost, coming off a loss. So and they got to play Philadelphia and the Patriots again. So the idea that Buffalo can kind of win the division feels impossible at this point. So all you can say is, yeah, Drake May looks as good as advertised. Your only fear, if you're a Patriots fan, is this cupcake schedule might bite you in the playoffs, because it's like you just don't know, because you haven't been challenged, you haven't been punched in the mouth yet, because you've literally played every week the worst team in football. It feels like it's just so Drake May's been fantastic. He's probably the NFL MVP. I think Jonathan Taylor should be, if you're going to give it to anyone.
Yeah.
Even Sam. I actually even think Matt Stafford, the way he's been playing, it's just been.
Stafford's been balling out as well.
So I think that Drake May isn't going to get it regardless, just because I think his schedule will go against him when people do votes, regardless of how good he's been.
Yeah.
I just think it's gonna come back to bite him, because there hasn't been many tough games for him.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is when you look at actually some of the wild card situations going on in the AFC, when you have maybe the Chiefs, maybe the Ravens in that situation, those are teams you don't want to face. Like those are teams when you play. Lamar is angry. He's playing angry right now.
You could technically have the 3 wildcard teams be Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, which would just be nuts. So you think I got the number 2 seed. I got to play the Chiefs. It's just, who knows what's going to go down with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. But right now, that is looking like what possibly could be. And I think that's kind of exciting. That kind of flips the whole playoffs on its head and just makes it, you could definitely, if you're even like the 5th or 6th seed, you could be like, if the Chiefs go all the way and they're the 7th seed, we could have home field advantage as long as we don't go all the way. So it's quite fun. I actually, because even though I'm a Bills fan, I'm horribly depressed that the Patriots are good again. It's good for football, and the AFC is now just kind of, again, a daunting task, especially with the way the Colts are.
We talk about those Colts, and when you look at international games, and obviously the Colts game in Germany last week, and that was an exciting game. I think that's one of the best international games I think I've seen. Jonathan Taylor just stomping it, though. But, Atlanta was not going down without a fight in this one. Colts saw the blueprint of how to get to Daniel Jones and how to fluster him. But when you have Jonathan Taylor doing what he does, this resurgence, and you just sort of go, wow, who's going to stop this guy? Because, they've never really had that quarterback that can also chuck the ball, and they put up a lot of points. The defense is there too. So while the Colts have been humbled a bit, they're still showing that they can be one of the best teams in the league.
You just kind of wonder how good they could be if they had Andrew Luck still playing. If you had Andrew Luck and Jonathan Taylor together, like just multiple Super Bowls probably. But you're going to have to settle for Daniel Jones, who looked fine last week. He wasn't dominant. It was just more Jonathan Taylor taking over that game every chance he got. And, the Falcons, just no matter what they do, it's just like they just kept giving too much time. They had to come back. It was just great. It was a great football game. And of course, it wasn't in London. So we don't get those games. We get the 13-3 barn burners, or 20-6,
Well, let's talk about that spicy quesadilla that's coming up in Spain this weekend. We'll start with our first game, which is Washington, 3-7, heading into Miami, also 3-7. You're welcome, Spain. However, Miami is 2.5-point favorites in this one. with a 47.5 point over/under. Obviously, Miami playing a little demolition game against the Bills last week. It was quite. Well, you're just sort of watching, going, "Wow,
Yeah,
okay." I could see the Bills had holes in the defense, but the offense was not
it
playing
was.
well
Yeah,
either.
it
And
was.
Miami was able to capitalize on this.
Yeah, it was. Listen, I think the Dolphins were just kind of, they just turned up the play. They were sick of kind of getting beaten down and everyone laughing at them. And I think it was just Buffalo just took them lightly. They thought they'd been getting cute, thinking they could just walk through. And, these division games can get intense, and give Dolphins all the credit. They were the better team. They, no matter, even though Tua threw multiple interceptions, but their defense just stepped up and just made Buffalo look, amateur, which is why I think they're going to take that going into this game. And I think, again, if I'm going to go with Tua versus Mariota, I'm going to go Tua all day. I just think Commanders are a mess. That they just kind of built this old team that had these. It was very dependent on Jaden Daniels, and now that he's not there, they just look like one of the worst teams in football. And I don't see how
Yeah,
Dan Quinn can't coach his way out of this. He's not. Again, this is kind of the problem when you have defensive coaches, is when the season falls apart offensively and you lose your quarterback, you have no answers because you're a defensive coach. You're just like, I
yeah,
guess we're screwed. so, so I'm gonna go Miami, and I just think they're the better team. I think they can at least move it. They got Achane, they got Waddle, they got Tua, they got Mike McDaniel,
yeah.
who can at least call up some plays. The Commanders are a mess, and I think they're just kind of now on the free fall. So I'm going to go Dolphins 27-20.
I got Miami too. These international games. This is a new stadium, the Bernabeu Stadium. I don't think anyone's really played there. I don't know in terms of. I'm going to go with the international game, which is, I think it's just going to be low scoring personally. And I think Washington's going to just show up here. I got Washington to cover it. I got 19-17. I think it's going to be a baseball score kind of game, like that Packers Eagles game was on Monday
Yeah.
night. Low scoring, offensive. No one wants to get hurt. No one wants to do anything. I just think Miami's going to feel good about that win, beating Buffalo. But traveling and doing all this stuff, and they might sort of be looking ahead, going, let's just play this game and get the hell out of here. Whereas Washington knows, going back 3-8, this is going to be kind of bad for us. So, again, I think the running game is going to factor in both of these. Achan's going to have, and Crosby Merritt will also have good games. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Washington covering this one. Let's head into Green Bay, who are 5-3-1. They're not leading the division. They've lost 2 games in a row, and they're going to a Giants team who's 2-8. Giants obviously were humbled by the Chicago Bears last weekend. Humbled indeed, as Bears took another win. Green Bay 7.5-point favorites. 44.5 is the over/under. Jordan Love was not looking good last week, and they made a lot of boneheaded plays in that game against the loss to Philadelphia. They're going into New York, though. New York has lost so many guys, and it's going to be Jameis, though. Jameis is quarterbacking, and he's always good for some chatter. But how do you like New York at home when you've got Green Bay 7.5-point favorites?
I mean, listen, Green Bay kind of feels like the Bills of the NFC. Like they just don't. Their offense is stuck in the mud. Injuries everywhere. Both tight ends are out. Both have injury at receiver. Both aren't getting what they kind of need out of their guys. Like the Packers have lost Matthew Golden. They've lost now. Dobbs is kind of hurt. Reed has been out. Tucker Kraft's out. So there's only really Christian Watson. So I feel like if they're going to win, they just kind of have to go old school football. Josh Jacobs, run it, use whatever they can. I can see Christian Watson having a big game because it's their only real weapon. And I think as he gets healthier, they're going to just kind of have to force feed him this game. So I kind of like his over on some bets. Longest reception, it's like 20 yards, and I think he's good for that. Outside of that, I just think Jameis is just fun. He's going to sling it around. He's going to make some mistakes. So this could be a good time to pick up the Packers defense in fantasy if they're sitting on the waiver wire and just be like, Jameis is going to give us 6. Jameis is going to. He's always good for 6. So
he's always good for a pick.
Yeah, Jameis is just gonna go a little scorched earth because the fun thing about Jameis is like he just doesn't give a fuck. Like he's just like, I'm going out there. This could be the last game I ever play. It's like every game's a movie.
Yeah.
Every game's a movie, and it's the last game he plays. I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. I'm going to go 27-24 for the Packers. I think it's a close game. I think the Giants, at least, I think Jameis is competent and can move it up and down the field much better than Russell Wilson can. So I think it's going to be a bit of a fun, kind of under the radar game, I think, this one.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Like, this could be the game that I think that the Giants could actually win. Just on the fact that you do have Jameis, which is Jekyll and Hyde kind of moment. He's either going to have that game where you're like, oh, look at him throw the ball to. Oh, look who he threw the ball to. That's not on your team. So I think there is that aspect. But he knows the pressure's been on him. He's the third string guy, right? He's watched the team come alive. He's watched Russell make some deplorable passes around. So I think, he could have some fun and excitement. Jameis's last dance. So I've got
Yeah.
Packers to win, but I've got it 23-18. I just think that Jameis could make a mistake. But again, to your point, I don't know where Love's really going to spread the ball around. And the front defense of the Giants is quite ferocious. They're going to put a lot of pressure on him. I don't see a lot of points being scored in this one. I got it 23-18. Let's head into the next big game here, where we've got Tampa Bay visiting Buffalo. Now, Buffalo obviously wanting to stop this skid. Tampa Bay losing as well. Tampa Bay still injured. I mean, you look at so many pieces missing on this team. They are 6-3. Buffalo 6-3. Buffalo 5.5-point favorites in this one. 48.5-point over under. Bills at home, they still have some issues, but they're getting some guys back. And Tampa Bay is not getting all their guys back yet. We don't know about, some of if Bucky Irving's going to play and what kind of.
Yeah, he just got ruled out. So Bucky Irvin and Chris Godwin just a couple minutes ago got before I came on here, they got ruled out.
So breaking news, even though you'll probably watch this in a few hours. But this is an often injured Tampa Bay team who has lost a lot of some of their juice, but will they be able to get something together, or is Buffalo going to be able to right this ship after a couple of losses?
I think 5.5 is too much. I think Bucks have basically been that team that almost like every game comes down to the wire, where it's like someone has the ball, Baker has a chance to win it. I think it's still with Ibuka and the way Baker's been playing confidently, he can still move it around. They're a good offensive team. I think if they had Bucky Irving, I'd probably take the Bucks to win. But the fact that it's going to be Rachaad White, I think they can really kind of stop. Basically, don't have to worry about him kind of breaking any and kind of focus on taking Baker away. The Bills are getting healthier.
Yeah.
A lot of guys coming back, which is great. Josh Palmer's coming back on offense. Gabe Davis making his return to Buffalo. The great one and only Gabe Davis. So the way the Bills have been playing, I think he's a blessing to this offense. I never thought I'd say this, but thank God for Gabe Davis coming back.
Yeah,
I think the Bills just seeing what's happening with the Patriots and all the pressure and all the chirping and the talking and everyone. I think the Bills this is like the biggest must-win game of the year. If they drop this after dropping to Miami and then have to go Thursday into the Texans on a short week against that defense with limited weapons, I think this could be trouble. I think the Bucks have a really good defense. I think this game is going to be low scoring. I think the weather could make it a bit sloppy. I'm going to go 23-20. Buffalo wins.
Yeah, I've got it 26-23 for Buffalo as well. I think Tampa Bay, to your point, can keep it close enough to this game. And the weather should be rainy, not as good. It's a rainy day in Buffalo today as well. So the weather will be a bit of an issue, a little cold coming in, but Buffalo's used to that. It's just that defense and getting those guys healthy again. And both these teams are playing with a bit of desperation in them. So the desperation can fuel you, but it could fuck you because you're going to make mistakes if you're really playing too hungry. But I think the Bills get this done at home. Heading into Pittsburgh for a divisional matchup is the 3-6 Cincinnati Bengals are heading into Pittsburgh. 5-4 Pittsburgh taking that loss against the Chargers last week. Pittsburgh 5.5-point favorites with a 49-point over under. Aaron Rodgers playing some good football. The defense stepped up, but they were just not enough for that Chargers defense, who really rattled them last week. Pittsburgh at home, though, Cincinnati. Cincinnati sort of nothing to lose, but the good news is that Burrow could be back, so all they have to do, keep this close, maybe stay the ship, and if they can get a win or two, they can maybe start getting themselves back into it with Burrow slinging it again, unless, of course, he gets injured.
That's
Pittsburgh at home, though.
That's kind of the reason I like the Bengals. I think they're going to win this game. I think Flacco knows this. Again, I think when Flacco knows this could be my last game, he's seen it all. He's not afraid. He's played Pittsburgh again. He's been on Cleveland this year. He's probably played it's probably the third time he's playing them, maybe potentially this year already. So I think Flacco's just doesn't have any F's to give, and he's just going to go out there slinging that ball, giving Joe Burrow a chance. Unless he's that petty and he's just like, I'm going to blow the game. So they just don't risk Burrow and I can keep playing. So I don't know which Joe Flacco we're going to get, petty Flacco or a good teammate Flacco. So I'm going to go with him winning. I think the Steelers are, to me, again, if they have to get in a game where you have to score 30, 20 points, especially after last week, how bad they looked, I just don't think Aaron Rodgers can win in a shootout. And especially the weapons that the Bengals have are just superior to the Steelers. So I'm going to go with the Bengals to win 28-24.
Yeah, I get the Bengals to win for 21 in this one. The same point. I think he's going to ball out. there is that momentum to Cincinnati. It's like, you know, when when the ship is going down and it's like you got a bucket, it's like, you know, keep throwing in the water overboard. We might be able to make it to shore, and I think that's sort of where they're at right now. Flacco, just, you know, the ability, what you've seen with that Pittsburgh defense is they do have holes back there. They've made a few moves, but how do you stop those the two-headed monster that they have in wide receiver? So it's going to be very difficult as someone who watched him do it to the Bears and be able to sling some points together. I think they're going to get a victory there, 24-21. Another divisional matchup as we head down to the 1-8 Tennessee Titans, who are hosting Houston, who are 4-5. Houston got Davis Mills back again, played well, and they're 7-point favorites going into Tennessee. 39 points is the over/under. Cam Ward and the team have just not been doing much of anything this year, and Houston has now started to, like anyone, starting to climb up a bit. They're starting to say, okay, we can get some stuff together on the back of this defense.
Yeah.
Will they be able to rupture Tennessee at home? Does Tennessee have a chance, or is
I
this
mean,
all Houston?
I just can't imagine. I just don't see any way Tennessee scores more than what, like 13 points. That's the most I could see them potentially scoring, especially against this Texans D that's ferocious. Again, I still think the Texans are pretty much a one-trick pony. They got Nico Collins, and that's about it. Like, who else is in their offense you're scared of? They have no running game at
Dalton
all.
Schultz.
You know, Marks got hurt last week, so we don't know how good he is. Chubb's been up and down, so it's, to me, yeah, Dalton Schultz. To me, this is just a Texan team that they're just going to go as far as their defense takes them, and I think that Davis Mills is at least a very capable backup. If I was going to have a backup, I'd want someone like Davis Mills who can, at least when you need him to, he can put up like 300 yards. He's done it multiple times in his career. So I'm going to go 2010 Texans win. I just think there's no way, I can't see the Titans scoring more than 10 points.
Yeah, I've got it 24-16. A lot of field goals, maybe something lucky. You know, Houston does have, you know, some issues, but in this division, this is sort of the easy win. You hope they don't overlook it too much, but I think that they will. They know they get this. All right, we're at 500. You know, at least it's not in a losing record, and there might be a chance for the playoffs if the Jags can continue to falter. Heading into another divisional matchup as the 6-3 Bears are heading into Minnesota. Minnesota obviously getting humbled by the Ravens last week. The Bears coming off a win against the Giants. Bears top of the division, sitting up there 6-3. Minnesota at 4-5, but Minnesota is 3-point favorites at home with a 48.5-point over/under. Good news that Jalen Johnson has entered the 21-day window, which is good for us in terms of the secondary. And the Bears, you know, Caleb is putting up a lot of points, but we also get a lot of points scored on us. Minnesota getting a lot of injured players back, which is a bit scary as a Bears fan. How do you like the Vikings at home?
I mean, it's tough to pick the Vikings just because of how up and down JJ McCarthy is and how little belief anyone really has of him. The problem is the Bears don't really have any defense, and I feel like, you know, this could just be one of those ugly games. Didn't they play each other earlier? They play each other like
They
week
did
one,
when
and
we
it
were
was week one?
first week one, and we were winning, and then JJ McCarthy came on fire in the fourth quarter and torpedoed the Bears.
I mean, yeah, I feel like if the Bears can't get up for this game after that, especially the fact that they are sitting like, did you say in first place, the Bears?
First place, 6-3.
6-3. So I'm gonna go with the Bears. I just think, again, I think the fact that it's in a dome, I think, kind of helps them. I think that just Ben Johnson in a dome knows how to kind of get his players open. I like to see, again, more from Roma Dunze. He's still kind of quiet, and there's no real. It's just the consistency of Caleb. He's got to stack good games on good games on good games. You know, do they have Swift? Is Swift back? Is it going to be Menengai? So again, they got that double-headed monster that now they can kind of have a nice change of pace back. So I just think the Bears have more weapons, more offense, the better offensive, well, not necessarily better offensive coach, but I just think I'm going to go with Caleb over JJ McCarthy and a little Bears revenge for week one, 24-23. Nice close one, right down to the wire.
I have the exact same score, actually, 24-23 for the Bears. I think it's going to be tough. You know, it's not going to be an easy game. It's Flores. He's got a few guys. He's got Van Ginkel. He's got a few guys back, which is going to make it difficult for Caleb, but he's been okay on the scramble, and we've been unfortunately doing too many fourth quarter comebacks, still too many penalties coming in there. I'm hoping Ben Johnson tightens things up here, but there is a bit of a revenge game here. It's like, screw you guys after week one and this whole JJ McCarthy heroics when we've seen him come crashing down to earth. I think Caleb's going to feel that one. I think that a lot of the Bears will feel it. So 24-23. Heading into Atlanta, Carolina, another team that got blown out by another team. Atlanta coming all the way back from Germany to play a game right away. Carolina 5-5, Atlanta 3-6. But Atlanta 3.5 point favorites despite getting blown out and putting up an egg in the last time. 42.5
Yeah.
is the over under. Atlanta has the cheapest hot dogs in all the NFL. Does that matter? I don't know, but it might make me want to pick them. What do you think about?
with the least amount of meat in them,
Yeah,
probably.
exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna go
just
with
a
the
skinny
Falcons.
dog.
I think the Falcons were embarrassed the last time they played against the Panthers. They got shut out, and I think coming off a really tough game, a tough loss against the number one seed in the AFC, Colts team. So I think the Panthers at least see what Jonathan Taylor did, thinking we can get Rico Dowdle running on this again. That's what they're. But I think the Falcons can bring pressure. I think the Falcons defense blitzes like kind of like Flores. They go
Mm-hmm.
at teams, and I think they're going to make it really tough. And I think that they've kind of learned from that last game of what Jonathan Taylor did to them, that they're not going to let Rico Dowdle. They're going to say, Bryce Young, you beat us, and we're going to blitz you, and you
Yeah.
try and beat us. So I think the Falcons at home, they kind of win this. They got more weapons, and they kind of need this. They've been suffering lots of bad losses. So I'm going to go with the Falcons to win 2019.
Yeah, I've got it 28-18 as well for Atlanta. There's just been too many heartbreaking losses, and also some losses you're like, what? Like the past loss to the Panthers. What the hell happened? How did you put up a donut? So I think this is going to be a motivational when you play these divisional games. There's always that factor where it's like, okay, these guys embarrassed us last time. They're not gonna do that to us in our house. And maybe who knows if Carolina is sort of running on steam. Once you figure out that Rico Dowdle puzzle and you can slow him down so he's not getting 200 yards, then maybe you've got a chance. So yeah, I'm with you on this one. Atlanta wins by a good amount, 28-18. Final game of the 1 o'clock slate takes us to Jacksonville, where the 5-4 Jaguars are hosting the 7-3 LA Chargers. LA 3-point favorites and a 44.5 point over under. LA got a good win last week. You're getting some of the defensive guys back, which is good for putting a lot of pressure on. The Chargers feeling good about themselves in 7-3. Jacksonville, as we know, Hunter's out for a while. They pick up Jacoby Meyer, but you still got Trevor Lawrence, and you still have an inept running game. At home, though, will the Jaguars be able to do something and try to slow down these Chargers?
I am going to take the Jags. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm so anti Trevor Lawrence this year, but I'm going to take the Jags. I just think the Chargers losing your tackles, you cannot state how much that hurts you. And I think that the last couple games, they haven't been able to run it anymore with Vidal. And they're kind of they're going to be going up against, Josh Hines Allen. He's going to be coming up against, their backup tackles. It's going to make, and Herbert's getting smoked out there. He's playing against his brother, which is hilarious. No one even knew there was a Herbert brother on the Jaguars.
You didn't know he had a brother in the league?
I had no idea.
No, yeah.
So
yeah.
I just think, again, the Jags are kind of in desperation mode with the division, with the playoffs. The Chargers are kind of just this team that basically Herbert has to go nuclear every game for them to win. That's the only choice they have. And I just think the Jags, every now and then they pull off these sneaky wins. They beat Kansas City. They can kind of hold their own and kind of keep you in. So I'm going to go with this one, a bit of a shootout. And I'm going to go 28-26 for the Jags.
I just like LA too much. And to your point, I think that the defense is what sort of really got me last week on the Chargers. Yes, they have some offensive line issues, and Pittsburgh wasn't able to capitalize on them. But the defense is, made Rodgers' day hell, and I think they're going to do the same thing for Trevor Lawrence. Once Lawrence gets flustered, he can start, I don't know how many options he's going to throw the ball around. I think Jacksonville, once they go down in a hole, it's difficult for them to come back out of it. 26-20, I have it. Chargers win. The 4 o'clock slate of games on the East Coast or the 9 o'clock games in the UK are just full of beauties. They're full of beauties. And we'll start with the first beautiful one, which is Seattle 7-2, going into the Rams 7-2. Rams 3-point favorites. Matt Stafford is a touchdown machine since week 4. 48.5 is the over under. The Rams are at home. Battle of the West Coast. Sam Darnold has been looking good, but this is going to be a real great game. How do you like the Rams' chances, or what do you like for Seattle?
I don't have any idea how to pick this one. I'm going to go Seattle. I just think that defense has been really good. I think the way Sam Darnold has just been able to kind of silence all the critics of people wondering, especially with what's going on in Minnesota. He's just been great. I think Seattle will travel well. I don't think, again, the Rams they'll have people, but Seattle will be loud. They'll be playing there. They got that doublehead. I think the Rams are so dependent on Stafford slinging it like he has been. And because the running game just has no explosiveness to it. It's just very much like 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards. Where I think the Seahawks have explosiveness a bit on with Walker and with JSN, who's been pretty much unstoppable this year. And I just think Seattle has the better defense, and I think Mike McDonald's going to have something kind of mixed up for Matt Stafford to kind of throw him off. And I think this is good. I agree. I think this is going to be the best game of the year, best game of the week. So I'm going to go 27-24 for Seattle. Nice close one.
I'm going the other way. It just, to your point, Stafford, to me, it's just been really indomitable. And the way that they've been playing, and maybe the running game isn't as good, but he's spreading that ball around to everyone. Vontae Adams seems to have found his stride again as well. Cooper Kupp, it'll be nice to see him face his old team again, even though I don't think he'll be doing anything. He's on my bench, and he'll continue to stay there. I got it 30-26. Rams win. I think there'll be lots of points in this one. I was going back and forth to think maybe it was just going to be a low-scoring game, but I'm going to go with bigger score, so 30-26. Another West Coast game as we go into the 49ers, 6-4, and they're 2.5-point favorites facing the Arizona Cardinals, 3-6. It looks like Kyler is done. They're entertaining options to get his ass out of town.
Oh, he's gone. He's gone.
48.5 points over under. Jacoby Brisket is looking to be under the helm there. Arizona, is this going to motivate them now that they know that this is a new team? It's Jacoby's team for now. And the 49ers still getting some injuries going on, but, there's a few pieces coming back, but not all of them.
Well, I believe I did read that Brock Purdy's going to play, which is good. I think Ricky Pearsall is going to be back. So I feel like this is the Niners kind of at their full capacity now, other than Brandon Ayuk, which we don't know what'll ever happen with him. It just feels now Kittle's back. It just feels like now this is the Niners ready to kind of healthy make that run. Going against, Jacoby Brissett, I just don't think with Marvin Harrison out, I think that's just too much. They have DeMarco as their running back, and they're kind of really just very much Trey McBride centric. It's like they're just basically bet the over on Trey McBride all day, especially with no Fred Warner. So I'm going to go with the Niners to win. I just think they're at full capacity now, and I think the Cardinals are just going to struggle to keep up. I'm going to go 31.
I actually like Arizona to upset here. Even though they don't have a lot of tools, I think Brissett is just my team. The defense has been playing some really good football, and I think they're going to have a few combinations set up here to thwart them. And again, I don't know if the 49ers are back, if they're ready, or what the hell they're doing, but I kind of like Arizona at home to win here, 26-24. I think it come down to a field goal, but I like Arizona with a cheeky little upset. Maybe not as good of a game as we head into Cleveland. The Browns are 2-7. Baltimore 4-5, but Baltimore 8-point favorites against Myles Garrett and this defense who's standing out. Cleveland at home 40.5 is the over/under. It's going to be wet, miserable in this game, but it doesn't matter to Baltimore. They've been playing some dedicated and driven football. Does Cleveland have a chance in this one, or is this all going to be Lamar?
I mean, it just feels like, how is Dylan Gabriel going to keep up with Lamar? Like, we haven't even seen Dylan Gabriel throw it down the field. So how's he going to be able to keep up with Lamar? The Browns defense, it just feels like, I don't know what Stefanski's doing with not playing Shedeur. He must hate him, like or he's trying to get fired. He's costanzing himself to get fired, not playing this guy. Maybe he wants out. He's pushing to get out. We'll take him with Josh Allen next year if the Bills don't make the playoffs. I'll have Stefanski every day. I just think the Ravens put, belt to ass on this one. I just think this is a beatdown. I would pick this to cover. I think Baltimore had a tough game last week against Minnesota. Lamar, that defense really made it hell. And I think, again, these two teams know each other, but I just have no faith in Dylan Gabriel. I'm going to go with the Ravens to win 30-14.
Yeah, I've got it 33-16 in this one. All signs point to Henry having a good game and Lamar being able to run. They know the order of business and what needs to be done, and that is just beating the crap out of people. And I can see it because, as you say, with Dylan Gabriel, just not throwing the ball around. You're going to Jerry Jeudy this whole game? I don't think so. So I just can't see them stopping Baltimore in any way. The defense has been good. Garrett, has got some sacks, but Baltimore seems to be getting more guys back. So 33-16. Another big game, 4:00 game. Kansas City, 5-4. 3.5-point favorites heading into Denver. Denver 8-2. They're at Mile High or whatever the hell they call it now. 44.5 points is the over/under. Division leading the Denver Broncos, 8-2. This would really kind of put it out of reach if they beat Kansas City in this one. That would sort of put the division sort of, just them and the
Yeah.
Chargers pretty much at this point. But, Kansas City has been playing some inspired football. Kansas City on the road, though. Patrick Mahomes. What do you think about Denver's chances at
I
home?
mean, Denver's been the worst. I think Denver's a terrible 8-2 team. Their offense stinks. They have bad wins across the board. Like almost every week is a bad win. I think the Chiefs come in and just beat them. I think Andy Reid with what like their week to prepare, an extra week to prepare for this game. I think the fact that the Chiefs are going to want to be able to kind of spread it around. I think the Broncos can keep it close because that defense is that good, and the Chiefs have had, some kind of offensive line problems. But to me, it's just with the extra time, I think Eddie Reid's pissed off, and I think again, like you said, they can't take another loss. I feel like this is the safest bet of the week. Chiefs, just trust the Chiefs that they're going to figure it out and get themselves back in the race for the division. And in a couple of weeks, we'll be laughing when they're in first place in the division. I bet. So I'm gonna go Chiefs to win this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Kansas City's motivation, and to that your point, the week of preparation. Now, Denver has played very well against the Chiefs at home, so again, that defense is going to try to spin a few things on him, try to choke out some of his points, and try to learn from other defenses, which is just keep Patrick, on his back feet. Kansas City's going to have too much. Spags and Reed will be doing, some magic here. 24-20, I have it for Kansas City winning this one. Denver not going away easily. The Sunday night game is a wonderful game as well. If you're going to stay up till 1 in the morning in the UK, we have Detroit 6-3, tied for the Bears at the top of the lead in the NFC North. Heading into Philadelphia 7-2. Philadelphia has been dismantling the NFC North, and the Bears have been dismantling the NFC East. Helping each other out. Who knows? Philadelphia 2.5-point favorites after the choke out against Green Bay last week, 46.5 over under. Philly at home, angry Dan Campbell. What do you like in this game?
I'm going to go with the Lions. I think the Eagles, again, they're just bad vibes all over the place. The fact that like AJ Brown's like, cut me from your fantasy team. They're not using me. I just don't think this is just good energy. It kind of feels similar to the Eagles energy that they had a couple years ago, where they started off hot and then they started to implode when they started hating each other. Kind of has that vibe. And I think, again, they went against a Packers team that just doesn't have an identity. And at least this time, you're going up against a Lions team that can beat you multiple ways. I think Dan Campbell's going to have this team up for it. I think they're going to make it really tough for the Eagles to move the ball. So I like the Lions to win this. I think it'll be close, though, because the Eagles are just too good of a team to kind of make. I'm going to go 24-21 for the Lions.
I'm going to go with the Eagles. And I know what you're saying about the toxicity. I mean, you look at Jair Alexander, who, goes from a Green Bay, goes to Baltimore, then gets traded to the Eagles, and then sort of takes a year off. You wonder if it's something to do with the locker room or it's just shit in his life, but there is some sort of toxicity in the system, or maybe it's just Philly water. Who knows? You never know what happens there.
Philly spirit.
But I still like Philly. Just the trades that they made, the team that they have, the coach is going to get them all fired up as well at home. And Detroit has just shown me that they do have a lot of gaps. And, especially playing outside. Jared Goff outside in the cold, it's not the same as a dome baby. And I think the weather is going to affect him and slow him down. So I like the weather and the elements to really get it, and Philly to just grind into it. And, maybe Saquon finally has that big game if Detroit can't slow him down. So 27-23 for me, Philadelphia wins. The final game is a Monday Night Football game that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. Dallas 3-5-1 heading into Vegas 2-7. Dallas 3-point favorites in this one. 50.5 is the over under. Dallas picked up a few guys in some trades, but they're still Dallas. You still can score on them, and Dak can put up 45 points and still lose 47-45. How do you like? Does Vegas going to find any motivation here, even though they've traded off some of their best guys? Or is Dallas finally going to, put some points together in a game that no one watches?
I mean, it's just, it doesn't feel great if you're a Raiders fan. Basically, they have Brock Bowers and Gentry. And I think the Cowboys, at least, the fact that they got those outside weapons in Lamb and Pickens, with the way Javonte was, I think they were off last week, so they probably have a little bit of a bye. So they have extra time to prepare for the Raiders. And Geno, with all the interceptions, this team's a mess, the Raiders. You can't pick them. You can't trust them. They're just not a good football team right now. And Pete Carroll just feels like maybe he should have retired and should not have came back at age
Yeah.
73 or 74. To me, the Cowboys are just gonna. I think they score 34. I think it's gonna be like 34-21 for the Cowboys.
I have it 34-20. Same kind of
Yeah.
thing. Dallas can put up a lot of points. Pickens has got glue on his hand. CeeDee Lamb, between these guys. I mean, the defense is horrendous. Who knows with Quinnen Williams and some of the pass rush that they've brought in, but I just can't see it doing enough damage. And it feels like Vegas is like, all right, so we made a bad call on Geno. It's a reset year. We've only won 2 games. Maybe there'll be an inspired come from behind win, but it won't be this game. So I've got 34-20. Folks, that is it for our NFL in London Week 11 predictions.
Ooh.
Thanks a lot for listening. And if you're going to the game in Spain, have fun. Hola, amigos. That's all the Spanish that I know.